Hello, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast. We're going to dig right into it today. We're talking about the Raiders in an identity crisis. And I think there are some important things that we need to address. Um, I first want to address I have been critical of the running game. I think they need to get more touches for Ashton. I'm not backing away from that one bit. Um, I know that they're trying to kind of bring him along. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I've said it 100 times. Chip Kelly has forgotten more about football than I know. I've been around this game for decades. I think I know a lot about it, but I cede that to him. Um, and I am not a person who's afraid to be critical, but it is imperative that when you are a person in a position of mind that's going to be critical, that you're also extremely fair. And there's something that I was critical of that I think it's important that I mention. So go back with me to week 7 to the Kansas City game. Um, in the first quarter, they threw the ball 8 times and Ashton ran once. I was very critical of that, and that is a fair criticism. I'm not backing down from that. However, when you go back and watch the film, um, there were 3 of those passes of Geno's that were RPOs. That stands for run pass option. And all Chip can do is call the play. He can't do the play. So I think it's imperative. I'm still critical of the usage of Ashton, but it's also not fair to put it all on Chip Kelly. Those weren't called passes. Those were RPOs, which I like RPOs. I'm a fan of RPOs. So I have no problem with an RPO being called because I like the duality that allows you to kind of juxtapose. It makes the defense be honest. So had those gone to Ashton, now you're looking at a 5-4 split, which is balance. So again, I still think they need to use them more, but I am also going to be fair in my criticism. I think you guys should demand that of any person in my position, myself included, and I demand it of me. And so when I saw that, I thought, okay, I'm going to address that right up front. Um, this is not a game where you should be looking for balance. Um, the Raiders are not going to be able to go up there and run the football down the Denver Broncos' throat unless they are able to significantly establish the passing game. It's not going to happen. And so I expect the Raiders to lose this one. Um, I told you before, I, I wouldn't be shocked at a win here. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But I also want to be fair. I don't want anyone to, if after the game's over, if it's a 75-25 type split, I'm not going to be critical of that. You just don't run into a teeth of a defense um, that has been nothing but a brick wall all year. I think you go in and you pin your ears back. To me, if the Raiders lose huge here, and I could see them losing huge and Geno throwing for 400 yards. Just that quick strike, boom, 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 boom. Um, that's that wouldn't surprise me, and lose big. Better to lose big with all the effort in the world than to lose by a smaller margin, but you didn't try. So I'm just prefacing my comments for the game Thursday night because I'm always going to attempt to be fair. One of the things you learn from Belichick, and obviously he's struggling at North Carolina, but nobody would argue he's the best coach in NFL history. But Belichick, and he had Tom Brady. So let's not pretend like the Raiders have Tom Brady. Although I think, Geno's fine. He's not Tom Brady. There's one of him. Um, but Tom Brady had that ability because I've always had people ask me, what did Tom Brady, what was he best at passing? This is what made Tom Brady great. Tom Brady was probably the smartest football player to ever play. And I don't know his IQ, but I can tell you from coaches who coached him and players who played with him and members of management that were on teams that he was there. The thing that set Tom Brady apart was nobody studied harder than him. He wanted every piece of information you could bring him, and he just processed it. And to his credit, he put the time and effort in. And so, Belichick, if he was going into this game, I wouldn't have been shocked to see 45 to 50 passes and 10 runs, just because, okay, they're going to take away the run, so we're going to pass it on you. And then there would be games if the team was just shut people down passing, he'd run 50 and throw 10. It's what made him really good. Chip is an exceptional offensive mind. I know this has been a bad year. I would also tell you, if I was sitting here with Chip Kelly, I would say the offense has not looked good this year, and it has not. But that doesn't mean he's forgotten how to coach. And so I am laying the groundwork. I fully expect the Raiders to go up there, and if they go 3-and-out on the first drive and all three are passes, I'm not going to be critical. You have to go up there and try to win. And you're not going to go up there and win running 50 times, running 30 times, unless you're able to establish the passing game. So they have to bring blitzes to try to force Geno to make even quicker decisions. Then that opens up some lanes for running. If the Raiders win this game and there's a lot of running, it's because they established the passing game. So I am laying that out right now because I want to be fair, because I want you to understand what I'm looking for. If they went up there and ran it 50 times and lose 31-10, then you think, okay, they wave the white flag. But if they go up and lose 31-3 and it's a 50-10 split, all right. And the Broncos are just better. That is the reality of the situation. And so nobody wants to hear that, especially a Raider fan, but it's the reality. And so that's what I'm looking for this week. I told you all I was going to ask Pete about Daniel Carlson. I did. And he agreed. Daniel's a great kicker. They have all the confidence in him. But man, they got to get him on track. Now, one advantage is kicking up in Denver. And I understand people don't believe this. But let me just tell you something. When you move to Vegas, and I'm from the Midwest, and I remember when my aunt and uncle moved here back in the late 80s. And we're like, how did you adjust to the heat? And because they were from the Midwest, well, actually from out east, and then with his career in the military, he spent several years in Alaska and then moved to Vegas when he retired. And so I remember we would ask them, how are you dealing with the heat? And they go, oh, it's a dry heat. And everyone always laughs at that. Well, I can tell you, moving here from the Midwest, I used to laugh at it. And now we're sitting here today and it's 80 degrees and I'm freezing. I know, and all my Midwestern peeps are going to call me a wimp and a lot of other names, but it is true. I've been in 120-degree heat in a full suit. I mean, shirt, tie, vest, everything. And yes, I'm boiling hot, but no sweat. It's just different. Mile high. Now, I've done, hunting and all of that in Colorado. And when you go there and hunt and you're going up and down the mountains, the air is much thinner. The ball just flies. I mean, think about that 68-yard kick the Jaguars kicker had on Sunday at Allegiant Stadium. That would have probably been good from close to 80. Just the way he cleared the bar here, that would have been close to 80 at Mile High with no wind. And so Pete agreed. We just got to get Daniel back on track. It's not an attack on him. He's a wonderful human being. He's a great kicker. I mean, coming into the year, he was lauded as one of the best in the NFL. Has not been this year, but that's important. I think another thing we need to talk about on special teams, I reached out to 3 different NFL people this week. As you know, I've been very vocal about the Raiders' struggles um, in special teams. And I got one special teams coach who's an actual NFL special teams coach to send me this text. Um, I got to find it here real quick. And I thought it was a interesting text. He said, sadly, Hondo, around the entire league, we're watching special teams struggle all over the place. There are so many new adjustments, especially on kickoff and kick coverage. It's difficult right now. No excuses, but it is the state of the game. I don't think it would be fair of you to think this is just a Raider issue. So it doesn't matter if you're a Raider fan, it is just a Raider issue. If you're a Raider coach, player, or member of the team, it's a Raider. But as a media member, my job being to be careful, I just think I need to point that out. Uh, getting your kicks down when you're used to trying to always boot them out your entire life out of the end zone. Now you're trying to drop them in a zone. Uh, Field goals. Pete talked about getting them out of those just end of the game situations, but they are the reality. It's why kickers still, even though it's not like they're getting quarterback money, still make good money to make those end of games. But they got to get him back on track. Pete also addressed tackling. As you guys know, it's a huge issue. Now, let me explain something to you. In the NFL, Monday it's film and treatment. Tuesday, off day. Wednesday, you get the game plan. And kind of Wednesday and Thursday, you're on the field, but it's not overly physical. And then Friday, it's really a walkthrough, and then you get ready for the game. In a short week, you come in Monday, look at film, then you got Tuesday, and then boom, today, they didn't even practice. They just walk through, and they're loading up the planes right now. They're literally getting on the planes now. So it's imperative that you understand and be able to grasp that it's hard to fix it even during the season because you're just not that physical. And in a short week, you're not going to be physical at all. So Pete talked about that. He addressed it. You can go watch that film. That film's up right now, where he answered my question about how do you fix it? How do you fix it? And he talked about just have to really use your mind. You have to be creative. You have to think through tackling. And then the last thing, and it really talks about looking at an identity, is there have been times the defense more than any part of this team has been dominant this year. Times. There have been rare occasions when the running game has looked exceptionally well, and rare occasion when the passing game has looked well. Neither of those together. Additionally, there have been times that the various special teams units have looked really good. Again, none of them together. And you're coming into week 10, and this team needs to establish its identity. It needs a complete game. And I asked Pete about that. They're looking for their identity. Now, I'm going to be very fair. I'm shocked at the Raiders being 2-6. There's more talent here than that. Although I don't think they're a playoff team. There's more talent than that. But I think it's completely and grossly unfair if your expectation is this is a week where they're going to go play that complete game and win. It's very hard to play a complete game going against a team where Sean Payton is very careful with his offense, very aggressive with his defense. So I am trying to be as fair with you as I can and give you an honest analysis of where this team is. So that's where they sit right now. We're going to see I think we'll see a lot of Thornton. I think we'll see a lot of Besh. Get those rookies in there. And, I think you'll see a lot of Tucker. I think you're going to see a lot of Lockett. I think you're going to see a lot of Bachman. Just get in there. Make it so. Make it so. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. I really appreciate you. Obviously, I'm going to be heading up in the morning to Denver. But I got one more thing I want to talk to you about because I think it's important. You're going to see a lot of young guys play. And I've got in fact, let me read you an email. I got an email from a gentleman named Chance. Chance is in Oakland, California. Hondo, for the first time in my life, I don't want to watch the Raiders on Thursday night. What would I be looking for? Another demolition? So Chance, I want to address that email. And I'm not an apologist for this team. I'm not a cheerleader. I'm not a fan. I'm also not hypercritical or hyper pro. My job is to report accurately. I think there's a lot. If you are a diehard Raider fan, I think there's a lot to watch. Number one, they could win. I don't expect it. I would be surprised, not shocked, but they could win. Number one. But here's a bigger one. You're going to see a lot of young guys get reps. So you're going to be able to get a vision of where your future as a franchise is going. And let me just say something. There's a lot of young guys that are going to play Thursday night that are trying to put on film to Pete Carroll, John Spytek, and Tom Brady and Mark Davis. Here's why you need to keep me. Here's why you need to keep me. I'm making progress. Let me show you. Remember IPM, from the moment he got here, I kept saying he just flashed. He showed some things. This is where you look for those guys. This is where you look for that. Yep, you're probably going to see another defeat. That's the reality. But I think there's a lot to watch for if you're a Raider fan. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. So, not if they lose, that's not fun. But I think it's a lot of fun to watch when you're looking analytically at things. And I think those will be some interesting things. So there you go, everybody. Thanks. Don't forget si.com/NFL/Raiders/on SI. God bless y'all.